Welcome back for another deep dive. And today we're going to be talking about victory.
Victory.
But not just any victory. We're talking about conspicuous victory.
Conspicuous victory.
As it's called in our source material.
Yeah.
Which is a selection of verses from the 48th chapter of the Quran.
Okay.
Titled Victory Al-Fath.
Okay.
So this chapter centers around a specific historical event.
Right.
But what we're going to do today is we're going to focus on the timeless wisdom that it offers.
Okay.
About faith, community, and what it means to truly succeed in life.
Right. I think what's really fascinating here is how these verses intertwine the personal and the political,
right,
the spiritual and the material. They offer a glimpse into the complexities of human belief and action.
Yeah.
Regardless of your background or your own beliefs.
Exactly. And speaking of conspicuous victory, the very first verse jumps right into that idea. And it's not just about winning a battle or achieving some kind of goal.
Yeah.
It's about a victory that's so clear and undeniable that it almost has this ripple effect on everything around it.
I think a good way to think about it is that a conspicuous victory is one that resonates on multiple levels, right? It's not just about tangible rewards. It's about a victory that has a deep impact on your inner state and your relationships with others.
Yeah.
It's a turning point. It sets you on a new course. It changes things for you.
And that makes me think of those moments in life where you overcome some big challenge.
Right.
And you do it not just by like gritting your teeth and pushing through, but by tapping into some deeper source of strength.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
It's like you surprise even yourself with how you handle things.
Right.
Would you say that those kind of experiences might qualify as a conspicuous victory?
Absolutely. Because it's about aligning yourself with a greater purpose.
Okay.
And seeing that reflected in both your inner world and your outward achievements.
I like that.
Yeah, it's like both hand, right?
Yeah. And that brings us to verses 2 and 3, where this idea of victory is linked to forgiveness, divine favor, and unwavering support.
Right.
So it's not just about the win itself.
Yeah.
But about this transformation that comes with it.
It's a transformation.
Yeah, it's like the victory opens the door to a whole new level of understanding and guidance. Almost like you're being set up for even greater success in the future.
It does. It's setting you up to be a conduit for something larger than yourself.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
So what are some of those markers of success in your own life that you would consider conspicuous in this sense? What are those moments that have had a lasting impact, not only on you, but on the people around you? And we'll give you a moment to reflect on that as we move on. After 4 and 5. Verses 4 and 5 introduce this theme of inner peace and faith.
Inner peace and faith,
It's beautifully described how tranquility is sent down into the hearts of believers.
Like a wave.
Like a wave of calmness.
Yes.
Yeah, just washing over.
Washing over them.
Yeah. I love that imagery.
Yeah.
And I love the phrase.
It's powerful.
Adding faith to their faith.
Yeah.
What that suggests to me is that faith is not just something you have or you don't have, but something that can grow and deepen over time.
Exactly. It's a positive feedback loop where each step you take in alignment with your faith strengthens and reinforces that faith. You become more confident. You become more resilient. You become more able to handle challenges.
Yeah. And it's not just about inner peace either, right?
Yeah.
These verses also talk about the promise of gardens.
Yes.
And forgiveness.
Right.
So it's a double reward.
That's right. It's that inner contentment.
Yeah.
And also knowing that you're on a path to ultimate bliss and a clean slate.
A clean slate. I like that.
That's right.
Now in verses 6 and 7, there's a little bit of a shift in tone.
First shift. Okay.
It talks about those who harbor evil thoughts.
Okay.
And the consequences they face.
Yeah. It's talking about negativity and choosing harmful paths.
And it seems to be cautioning against that.
Yes, it is. It's important to remember that these verses are addressing a specific historical context.
Right.
But if we kind of zoom out and look at the broader message, it's about the power of our thoughts and our intentions, right? When we hold on to anger or resentment or ill will, it creates suffering not only for ourselves, but also for the people around us.
Right, like that ripple effect.
It is a ripple effect.
Our negativity can impact others just as much as our positive energy can uplift and inspire.
Exactly. And I noticed you picked up on the fact that the verses specifically mentioned male and female.
Yeah.
This is important because it emphasizes that these principles apply equally to everyone.
Right. So this universality is a recurring theme in the Quran.
Absolutely.
So moving on to verses 8 to 10, we're introduced to the role of the messenger.
The messenger, yeah.
And this figure is described as a witness, a bearer of good news, and a warner.
Right.
It's interesting how those roles seem to encompass both hope and caution, guidance and accountability.
Yeah. Messengers in many traditions serve as a bridge between the divine and humanity. They offer hope and inspiration, but they also remind us of the importance of staying true to our values and making choices that align with a higher purpose.
And there's also this powerful image of pledging allegiance.
Pledging allegiance.
With Allah's hand being over the believer's hands.
It evokes this feeling of protection and support, a seal of approval on their commitment.
Do you think that idea of seeking guidance and support resonates with people today, even outside of a strictly religious context?
I think it's deeply ingrained in human nature to seek out mentors, communities, or belief systems that offer a sense of belonging and guidance, right? Whether it's a spiritual path, joining a movement, or simply seeking wise counsel. That yearning for connection and support is universal.
Yeah, I think so too. Speaking of connection, verses 11 and 12 introduce the idea of those who remained behind, the people who made excuses for not joining the cause.
Yeah. A very relatable human experience, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah.
We've all been there.
We have. We've all been there.
Hesitant to fully commit to something, maybe even talking ourselves out of it.
Talking ourselves out of it.
And the verses offer a fascinating glimpse into human psychology. It's that tendency to rationalize our choices.
Our choices.
Even when deep down, we might sense that we're not being completely true to ourselves or to our values.
Yeah. It's that struggle between aspirations and fears.
Yeah.
What we know we should do and what feels comfortable.
It makes me think of those times when I've had a gut feeling that I should take a leap of faith. But then I start second guessing myself. Or when I know something isn't right, but I make excuses to avoid like rocking the boat or something.
Oh, yeah. Have you ever experienced that kind of inner conflict?
All the time.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
I think those verses resonate because they hold up a mirror to our own internal struggles and remind us to be mindful of the stories we tell ourselves. Sometimes, they're protective, those stories. But other times they prevent us from living out our potential.
That brings us to verses 13 to 17, where the focus shifts to the consequences of those choices, the consequences of what's called disbelief.
Disbelief, yeah.
But it seems like disbelief here might encompass more than just rejecting a particular religious doctrine.
Right, exactly. It can refer to a lack of commitment, turning away from your chosen path, or failing to live according to your values. It's about that disconnect between your beliefs and your actions, and how that can create this inner dissonance and lead to negative consequences.
So it's not about punishment in the traditional sense, but more about the natural repercussions of our thinking. Like if we choose to ignore our inner compass, we might end up feeling lost or unfulfilled or something like that.
Exactly. But even within this discussion of consequences, right? There's a clear message of compassion and understanding.
It specifically mentions that those with physical limitations are not blamed for not joining the cause. So it's a reminder that circumstances vary, and we shouldn't judge others without considering their situations.
True justice requires empathy and a recognition of our shared humanity.
So now back to the theme of victory.
Back to victory.
Verses 18 to 21 bring us back to that initial triumph. Focusing on the tangible rewards. We have this vivid image of believers pledging allegiance under a tree, and the promise of abundant gains. It feels like a culmination of all their efforts and sacrifices.
What's beautiful here is that those abundant gains can be interpreted on multiple levels, right? We have the material aspect, the resources, the opportunities that come with success. But we also have that deeper spiritual and emotional fulfillment that comes from aligning yourself with a higher purpose.
So it's that feeling of accomplishment and satisfaction that comes from staying true to your convictions and seeing your efforts make a difference in the world. True success encompassing both the tangible and the intangible, the material and the spiritual.
highlighting the interconnectedness of those two realms.
Yeah.
Suggesting that true victory comes when we find a balance.
Now, verses 22 to 26 delve into some pretty profound concepts.
That's concepts, okay.
Divine patterns, the calming presence of Allah, and the contrast between the rage of disbelievers and the serenity sent upon the believers.
That's a lot to unpack.
There's a lot to unpack there.
Yeah. One of the most intriguing ideas presented here is Allah's pattern, ongoing since the past.
Yeah.
It evokes a sense of order and predictability in the universe.
Like there's some kind of underlying principle.
Yeah, an underlying principle governing the ebb and flow of events.
So we're not just random beings flailing about in chaos.
Not at all.
But there's a larger design at play.
Right. And then we have this striking contrast between the inner turmoil of those who resist and the tranquility bestowed upon those who have faith.
How can we cultivate that inner peace, that serenity amidst all the challenges and uncertainty of life?
It's a question worth pondering, isn't it?
It is. It is.
Maybe the answer lies in finding ways to connect with something larger than ourselves.
Okay.
Through spiritual practices, maybe community involvement.
Yeah.
Or simply cultivating a sense of gratitude and appreciation for the present moment.
Yeah.
That's a possibility.
And finally, we arrive at the grand finale.
Grand finale.
Verses 27 to 29
All right.
speak of ultimate triumph, unwavering faith, and the fulfillment of a long-awaited vision.
The image of entering the sacred mosque without fear is so incredibly powerful.
I agree.
It symbolizes achieving a goal, overcoming obstacles, reaching a place of safety and belonging.
Yeah.
It speaks to that human longing for acceptance, security, and the realization of our deepest aspirations.
Yeah, what I find particularly moving is the way the chapter concludes.
Okay.
With a description of believers from the Torah and Gospel.
Oh, wow.
Strong and resilient in their faith.
Okay.
It broadens the scope beyond a single tradition, highlighting the universality of these qualities and the power of unwavering belief.
It reminds us that despite our differences in background and belief systems, we share a common humanity, a capacity for faith and resilience, and the pursuit of a higher purpose.
So we've journeyed through these verses from the Quran's chapter on victory, exploring themes of faith, community, and what it truly means to succeed in life.
What a journey.
It is. What are some of the key takeaways that are resonating with you?
For me, it's the multifaceted nature of victory.
Okay.
It's not just about outward achievements or material gains, but also about inner peace, spiritual growth, and alignment with a higher purpose.
Yeah, I completely agree.
Yeah.
And that emphasis on faith as a dynamic force that can grow and evolve over time, I think that's incredibly powerful.
It is. It's not about blind belief, but about actively nurturing a connection to something greater.
Yeah, exactly.
Finding those sources of strength and guidance.
And we can't forget those insights into human nature.
Right. The tendency to rationalize the struggle between our inner feelings and outward actions.
Yeah.
The consequences of negativity and self-deception. Yeah. These are all universal.
These are all universal experiences.
Yeah.
So even though this chapter is centered around a specific historical event and rooted in a particular religious context, I think the themes transcend those boundaries.
I agree.
We can all relate to that desire for victory, the search for meaning and purpose.
Absolutely.
And the importance of making choices that align with our values.
That's what makes these texts so enduring. They tap into something fundamental about the human experience.
Yeah. As we move forward from this deep dive, what is one question or thought that these verses have sparked in your mind that you'd like to explore further? What's something that's lingering with you?
Take a moment.
Take a moment and consider it.
Consider it.
And we'll see you next time on The Deep Dive.
See you then.
So maybe it's reflecting on how you define victory in your own life.
Yeah.
Is it just external achievements?
Right.
Or does it include this sense of inner fulfillment and alignment with your values?
Or maybe it's about those sources of strength and guidance that help us navigate challenging times and stay true to our path.
Where do you find support and inspiration when you're faced with adversity?
Yeah, what helps you stay grounded when things are tough?
Yeah.
We've been talking about conspicuous victory.
Yeah.
But even in those moments of triumph,
right,
there's this quiet struggle happening beneath the surface.
Underneath.
Yeah, remember those verses?
Yeah.
About the people who remain behind?
Right.
I think that speaks to a very human tendency to hesitate, to question, to maybe even sabotage ourselves.
Oh, yeah.
When we're faced with a big decision.
It's almost like there's this part of us that wants to play it safe, stay in our comfort zone, even if we know deep down it's not where we're meant to be.
Right.
I think about those times in my life when I've held myself back from pursuing something that I truly desired.
Okay.
Because I was afraid of failing or what other people might think.
That fear of judgment, that fear of not being good enough. Those are powerful forces that hold us back.
Yeah.
And it's interesting how those verses connect that internal struggle to disbelief.
Yeah.
Not just rejecting a particular set of beliefs, but that lack of faith in ourselves, in our ability, in our own inner guidance.
So disbelief can also be like a lack of self-confidence, a lack of trust in our intuition.
Right.
And that makes me think about all those times when I've ignored that inner voice saying, you can do this.
You can do this.
Or this feels right.
This feels right. Have you ever experienced that kind of struggle?
Definitely.
Yeah. I think everyone grapples with that self-doubt. It's part of the human experience.
But how do we do that?
Yeah.
How do we cultivate that unwavering faith in ourselves, that inner knowing that we're on the right path even when things are tough?
Well, I think it starts with recognizing that those doubts are often rooted in fear, fear of failure, fear of rejection.
Fear of the unknown. And fear is powerful.
It is.
But it doesn't have to control us.
Right.
We can choose to acknowledge our fears, but not let them dictate our choices.
And that makes me think about those verses that talk about the calming presence, that sense of tranquility that descends upon the believers.
It's like an antidote to fear.
It is.
It's a reminder that there's this greater force at work, even when we can't see it.
And that brings us back to conspicuous victory.
Conspicuous victory.
Not just about achieving something, but about the transformation that happens when we overcome those internal obstacles.
Right.
And align ourselves with a higher purpose.
Like the victory itself is a reflection of that transformation.
I like that.
We've tapped into something deeper.
Yeah.
Something more powerful than our fears and doubts.
And that kind of victory has a ripple effect.
It does.
Inspiring others.
Creating positive change in the world.
Yeah. It makes you think about human potential for growth and resilience. And living a life of meaning and purpose.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into victory,
what
is one thing you hope our listener takes away from this conversation?
I would invite the listener to consider, what does conspicuous victory look like in your own life? What are those moments where you've overcome a challenge, not just with grit and determination, but with the sense of grace and wisdom and a connection to something larger?
That's a great question.
It is. And thank you for joining us.
Yes, thank you for joining us
on this deep dive into victory.
And we'll see you next time.
See you next time.
Well, we've covered a lot of ground in this deep dive, haven't we?
We have. We've been exploring this idea of conspicuous victory in all its different layers.
Yeah, the personal and the communal and the spiritual and even the political. It's amazing how these verses from the Quran speak to these really universal themes. Even if you're coming from a totally different background.
It really is a testament to the power of these ancient texts to offer timeless wisdom. You know, they transcend cultural and religious boundaries.
I think it's really relevant today. You know, especially in a world where we're bombarded with messages about success.
Absolutely.
And achievement.
Yeah, we're always being told to strive for more.
Yeah. And these verses invite us to kind of step back and ask what really matters, right?
Exactly. What kind of victory will bring us lasting fulfillment and contribute to a better world?
Yeah, exactly.
It's not always about those external markers of success.
Right.
It's about aligning ourselves with a higher purpose. Cultivating inner peace and using our gifts to make a positive impact.
Yeah. And it's not always a straight path, is it?
It's not. There are going to be setbacks. There will be challenges, moments of doubt.
Yeah, but those can all be part of the journey.
They are part of the journey.
Yeah, toward this conspicuous victory.
They are, like those verses we talked about.
Yeah.
Those people that remained behind.
Right.
They hesitated. They made excuses.
Yeah, maybe even sabotaged themselves.
Yeah, out of fear or uncertainty.
And I think there's a lesson there for all of us.
I think so too.
We all have those moments of self-doubt.
Yeah, those moments where we question
Yeah.
that path or hold ourselves back.
Yeah, and that's where that idea of faith really comes in.
Faith. It's not just faith in higher power.
Yeah.
It's faith in ourselves.
Yeah.
Our ability to overcome
Those obstacles, yeah.
and achieve those conspicuous victories.
Yeah, that will shape not only our lives, but the lives of those around us.
Absolutely. And I think that brings us to a really crucial point as we wrap up this deep dive.
Yeah.
We've talked about conspicuous victory as this kind of turning point, this transformative moment that sets you on a new course.
But what if they're not just isolated events?
That's a good question. What if it's an ongoing process?
Yeah.
A continual journey?
Yeah, of growth and evolution.
It's like we're all on this quest
Yeah.
for those victories.
Yeah.
Both big and small, that help us become the best versions of ourselves.
Yeah, and contribute to that more just and compassionate world.
Exactly. And maybe by embracing that journey, having that faith in ourselves, in the power of those conspicuous victories, maybe we can create a ripple effect.
A ripple effect of positive change.
That extends beyond ourselves.
Beyond ourselves. So keep seeking.
Keep seeking.
Keep striving. And keep believing.
You believing.
In your ability to achieve those victories.
Yes.
That will make a real difference.
And thank you for joining us.
Yeah, thank you for joining us.
Oh, this deep dive.
Into victory.
Until next time.
Keep exploring and keep questioning. And keep striving for those conspicuous victories.
Those conspicuous victories.
That will light up your life and the lives of those around you.
Absolutely.